Mike Smith getting all from West Coast as he clings to the lead from Gunnabara. Irem is third at the inside. Cameron is fourth. It is West Coast, and he keeps on rolling. And West Coast goes wire to wire. It's the Travers.
Live from the backstretch at historic Saratoga Racecourse, this is Racing Across America with Seth Merrow. Racing Across America is brought to you by Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. Thoroughfan, giving the fan a voice. Find them at thoroughfan.com. And Woodbine Racetrack. Pick, bet, and cheer on world-class horse racing north of the border.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America on a Monday morning, sunny Monday morning here at Saratoga, and happy to be joined for the first time at the meet. Well, no, you were on with Bick and I, but that isn't officially this show. That's not officially Racing Across America.
I get no credit.
Andy Serling.
I get nothing.
But
I
that's loose on the lead. It's a different show.
It's all the same.
To you.
Know, it's like, what is it like George Costanza says? It's all pipes. It's all the same.
That's the second Seinfeld reference in 3 days. I'm surprised Nadeau hasn't done like 20 more of them over the past
I'm sure there's
2
quite a
weeks.
few we could use for Saratoga this summer.
Andy Serling, obviously we'll take a look at some of the action today, but we're happy to have Andy and also to talk a little bit about some of the things you're doing during the meet. The MSG Fox show, you guys weren't affected by the weather Wednesday because you were out by then, right?
Yeah, we were on from 1:30 to 5, actually. And so, yeah, for us it was just a beautiful day.
Yeah, as I understand it, NBC kind of, Randy and Jerry and particularly Brittany Urton, I guess their yeoman's job kind of keeping the balls up in the air while there was the delay. But you being in television myself, when something like that happens, it gets interesting.
Yeah, we've had some of those. You know, we had the day when there was a delay when the jockeys weren't riding, and then we ended up on for 3.5 hours. We went till almost 7:30, and it was like dark out. I think they were wearing miners' hats during the Man of War. It was about 33 degrees on the 3rd floor at Belmont. And we had that funny show here a couple of years ago when we had a show scheduled to show the Arlington races. Thankfully, we had to cancel on 4-Star Dave Day. And as a result of that, we were on, I think, for 3.5 hours. And even the guys on the roof, at the time was Mig and Greg Wolf, had to come down because the rain in the roof, it was that incredible storm. And we were filling it with guests. We had Chris Kay, we had Michael Dubb came in, we were showing the Arlington races. But Amos and I were betting on all the races at Arlington and winning. So we didn't really care. We were having a great time. It was fine.
And there was a nice crowd around the big screen in the bottom of the clubhouse. I remember that day. Thank God for the Arlington race.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know. Maybe we would have just canceled the show. I could have gone home. So who knows?
Also, want to touch on the radio show. Again, highly recommended. Thursday nights down at the Parting Glass. I made the first show. I caught the end of the last show because I was playing with the jockeys 2 weeks ago. I was at the charity event, though, MC by Steve Bick. I had to go over and support my partner. So I missed one show, but I've been to the other two.
That's okay.
And last week I missed, and I keep meaning to pull it up on the replay because it sounded interesting. Dale Romans was going to interview you.
That was fun. It was as well. And my other guests were also terrific on the show. So it's been a lot of fun. We had Boyd Browning from Fast Tippin, obviously, who were instrumental because this weekend Fast Tippin sells tonight and tomorrow. People really should go to those if you're around. It's about as fun a night as you'll find in Saratoga. I mean, it's basically just a big bar with happens some horses being sold and they're on the TV, or you can go inside or whatever, and it's just a fun night. There's a lot of people there. It's great people watching, and it's just enjoyable.
I tell people if you're going to come up for the track, come sales week, because you get the track and then you walk down the street a block and a half, and it's a great couple of nights. And I think with the weather, it's going to be a nice, warm, comfortable night and a lot of fun. And it's like kind of a big party out in the back. I asked somebody this week, and you will. Remember the Spite and Dival?
Of course. I mean, it's before. Actually, it isn't really before my time. Believe it or not, I had a friend I think in the early 80s, in '83, who was the first male server inside, a friend of mine but I never really went in there because I was younger and it was an older crowd, but sure I do. It's basically, I mean, it was probably sort of where the end of the bar is, right?
Yeah.
Now, and I've been going.
So you're essentially somebody's living room, which became a piano bar.
Well, my first night at the sales, and of course you can go way back as well to when it was 4 nights, was actually, and this is true, was the night Chuvie's foal was sold, Sigmund Sommer bought, became Tom Swift. And sold for I think $350,000 in '74, but it's a more notable night because it was also the night that Richard Nixon resigned. and they actually stopped the sales and they played his resignation speech.
Oh, that's wild.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy event. Yeah,
that is wild. Let's go back to the weekend and get your thoughts on the Whitney. We got the stretch run here, Diversify. I was standing in the winner's circle watching the race, and I said to the people next to me, as he kind of opened up a little bit going into the far turn right about here, I said, this one's over. Top of the stretch, given what we saw in Dubai from Mind Your Biscuits, I thought, well, maybe. But by the time they hit about the 8th pole, you knew Diversify was going to put another tour de force together, going back-to-back with the Suburban last time. This was just a great effort.
He's a terrific racehorse, and I'm very glad the best 2 horses ran 1-2, and they did. I do feel for the connections of other horses, whether it's Good Samaritan or Backyard Heaven or McCracken specifically, because you do think the racetrack and, you know, the rain and such, and the track had been so fair and actually been kind of closers, to be honest, would have favored their running style more. But let's be honest, the best 2 horses ran 1-2, and I think Mind Your Biscuits ran particularly well. And listen, Diversify right now, he and Accelerate are the best 2 older horses in the country because West Coast is on the sidelines. They are the 2 right now. As far as Diversify, he's just been wonderful. I'm a huge fan. I'm thrilled for Rick Violet, who I consider a friend, and I love to see Rick do well. And he's a terrific trainer. It's nice to see him get some recognition too. But Chad Summers done a great job with Mind Your Biscuits. And the thing on Mind Your Biscuits is, you know, he's supposed to run 3rd here, right? The Lover is supposed to pass him at this point because he's a closing sprinter, stretching out. He's trying to make this run against Diversify, and he's still gamely held on for 2nd. I think that's a huge credit to him to suggest that he really isn't just a closing sprinter. I mean, he's just an all-around, old-fashioned good horse.
Yeah, after the race, I walked up heading back to the press box, and Chad's brother and father were sitting in one of the boxes. I said, you ran a great race. You just ran into circumstances and a monster of a horse right now.
And Dan Summers, who works with me at NYRA, and Dan's a terrific guy, does a great job for us at NYRA, and I'm thrilled to see Dan doing so well with this horse. It's really fun because I never bet him, but I'm always happy to see him do well, especially for Dan, who really is a good guy.
It was a great addition of the Whitney, certainly. All right, let's get to some of the action for this afternoon. Get some of your thoughts. Of course, see you in the pregame show most days, and we see you during the afternoon as well, and again on the MSG Fox show, which we talked about it already, but I'll just once again applaud. You guys do a great job, and I watch it regularly the rest of the year. Here, it's interesting. I catch it in the middle of the night a lot of times. I get home and the replay's on, or the next morning, so I get to enjoy it here, even though I can't see it live.
I don't have a TV in my bedroom here, but in New York sometimes I do catch it at night. It's a team effort. I mean, listen, all the guys in the show, and Greg Wolf will never get the credit that he deserves on that show because he does such a great job holding it together. In fact, the better job a host does, the less people notice.
I was about to say, that's his job, to kind of be the guy who doesn't get the credit. If you're doing the right thing, you're kind of invisible almost.
No, I totally agree. And everybody, obviously Maggie and Paula Duca, Tom Amos, Gabby Gadet, everybody we work with. But it's also people behind the scenes that don't get the credit, whether it's our producers, Terrence and Josh, and it's the director, Mitch Levitas, and everybody in the truck. I mean, there's enormous amounts of people putting in a lot of effort for it. And I almost wish there would be a day we could bring them all on camera. We can't because they're all stuck behind doing their jobs because they all deserve an enormous amount of credit, and they never get it. Everybody goes, oh, you or Paul or, you know, whoever it is are doing this great job. And it's like, well, no, there's all these people that are really doing a great job. We're just happen to be the people that are fortunate to be on camera.
Yeah, people don't realize, having owned a television production company myself, not doing anything on this scale at all, but that's what makes it all the more impressive. There are people up on the roof. You guys are down in the paddock. Maggie's out on the track. That is a lot of balls to be juggling, and this show comes together seamlessly. The pre-taped pieces are always great and some behind-the-scenes stuff, and I think being on MSG and Fox Sports, the potential is there to introduce racing to a new audience as well.
We hope
that's a plus.
Yeah. Things have been going well so far, and it's a pleasure to work there. And it's a pleasure to work with the people I work with. It's an honor and a pleasure.
All right, let's jump in and take a look at some of the action for today. Let's start out in race number 1, a 16 N2L. Mile and an eighth is the distance. I went 4, 8, 5, and 7. I put Bon Raison on top for Todd Pletcher on the class relief. Interesting to me that the horse was training as recently as July 21st down at Palm Beach Downs, so that one intrigued me. Jimmy Jerkins with Pirate's Treasure on a little touch of class relief as well. And I thought Cookie Crisp, to me, the 5 horse, first off the claim with some back numbers that I think fit with these. The last race certainly is not confidence building.
Were you desperate Annie's when you picked the Cookie Crisp?
But it's only that one race. I mean, I think if you get some back numbers, and at the 15-1, I'm getting paid to take the shot.
Well, you won't get paid, but it'll be 15-1. I think the 6, 9, and 10 are scratched out of this race. 2 of those, the 6 and 9, are entered on Wednesday and Thursday's card. It's the most important thing today, and why I want to talk about a dirt race is the track, other than the Whitney, the last 2 days, and particularly yesterday, very much an outside flow type racetrack. Inside runners not doing well. I like the one over rider for trainer Ken McPeak. I went 1-4-3 in here. They were the only 3 I could use. I just thought this was a horse second off a layoff, going from turf to dirt. Dirt's preferred surface. Ran fast enough as a 2-year-old to be competitive here. Any kind of routine improvement he can win. Bon Raison can obviously win for Todd Pletcher. The reason that Todd Pletcher won this title last year was an incredible job by him of taking sort of horses from Florida, sort of getting them up here and winning with them. They have not been winning. I know he won by a nose yesterday, won on the turf, but in general, those horses he bring up have not been of the caliber. They're going to be overbet. Now, Bon Raison picked second. He could certainly win, but I'm not sure he's not a little bit on the downslide, you know?
Okay, fair enough. Let's move on to race number 3. That one is an allowance non-winners or one other than. 3/4 of a mile in the third race. I went 2, 4, 5, and 3. I put Ajnadine on top for Kieran. Just seems to be in good form and primed to move forward. And Devil's Halo, kind of a similar situation. Broke the maiden 2 back, got some experience at this level, and looks eligible to move forward today. So for me, 2, 4, 5, and 3.
Yeah, I mean, clearly Ajnadine, the 2, is the horse to beat. I don't think there's any argument against that. I don't like the 4 Devil's Halo and Killybegs Captain. They can obviously win, but I don't like the race they're coming out of, so I'm going to go in other spots. Rubus, the 6, I think is a very dangerous horse. He does have that good outside position, so even on a fair track, he's in a good position. Trainer's horses, he's run a few, have not run that well, but this is a horse that ran very well to break his maiden and got caught in a fast pace. I like Hollywood Star in here, though, for Dale Romans. I think he's a very interesting horse. He looks slow, but he's slow based on 2-year-old form. There's every reason that he can improve 10 or more buyer points going from 2 to 3. He's the kind of closing sprinter you want. He ran well to be second here in the Saratoga Special last year, and I think he's going to be a bit of a price, and I think he has a chance to come charging on the stretch and make some noise at a price.
Yeah, I put him in the 4th spot, and I debated putting him up just on the kind of the factors you said. The cutback, I think, is going to be interesting, and I think there's some class here potentially. I could see Hollywood Star moving forward. All right, let's move on to race number 8 today. State Bred Optional Claimer. 40 tags, non-winners of 2 other than the condition, 5.5 on the grass. I went 7, 11, 6, and 3. I put Mentality on top for Wesley Ward, coming out a decent try in the New York Stallion race last time. Noble Freud in the 2nd spot for Chad Brown off the layoff, but certainly the workouts seem to indicate the horse probably ready to come back. An Awesome Roar. Jason Service, I think, is maybe getting back into gear after just a monster late spring, early summer. So I went 7, 11, 6, and 3.
Yeah, and keep in mind the main track only is the 1, 13, and 14 are out of this race. Obviously, we're on the turf for all races today, or all scheduled races, not all races. I like Mentality too. I thought the Mentality ran very, very, very well last time. If you look at that last race, she was in the pace completely incinerated, and she was right there, 7 furlongs. I think less distance will be better, and I just think she's too much horse for these. The other horses I would use would be the 3 March Express, who was stopped trying to rally on the turn last time, and I really think less distance is better for her. 7 to 5.5 is probably suitable for her. I like the combination of the speed and the closer, and then the sort of horse in the middle for me is Ella Weasel, who she does continue to lose and sort of burn some money, but she's been victims of some less than perfect rides and trips, and I thought it ran very well last time. It was an extremely slow pace with Royal Inheritance, and it's a different situation today, so I'll use her. I went 7, 10.
Yeah, I left I put March Express in the 4th spot, but I said during the handicapping show I feel bad about it because I used her in the first 2 starts of the career, particularly that first start up here at Saratoga where she was came out of the gate and I was like, this one's over.
Right, but people continue to pretend that that's the only race in their past performances.
The follow-up was really good.
I know, but it's like we're always saying, like, her first race at Saratoga. She's got a career after that, and it's been okay. She hasn't really gone on with it. She's okay.
No, and that's why I put her at the 4th spot, but I thought maybe a return to Saratoga, maybe we'll get back to those Saratoga races.
Well, she better do better than them, because she'll still have to improve off of those, so we'll see.
Well, she does have, hopefully, some 3-year-old improvement already in her. Again, I feel bad leaving her out.
It's so great to see you.
It's great to see you, too.
I've just missed you over the last few weeks. It really have. It's been hard for me.
Well, we've crossed paths a couple of times, but we'll get you in here at least one more time.
At least one more time.
Okay.
I promise.
All right.
You have my word.
I like that. We made you say
I got a meeting in 5 minutes.
Right.
If I didn't, I would be here all the time.
We're going to get you there. Andy Serling, New York Racing Association. Again, check out the radio show down at the Parting Glass, 8 o'clock on Thursdays, MSG Fox Sports as well, every racing day, and pregame show on the NYRA simulcast signal also. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Tom Mulliken, Select Sales, one of the consigners across the street. We'll talk the sales tonight and tomorrow. Right after this, stay tuned.
Birdstone is an up make better decisions, better choices, to know how to connect the dots. In horse racing, knowledge is a powerful tool, but not the only tool. Race results and replays, past performances and live streaming, wagering from all your digital devices. These too are important tools, and you'll find them all right here at Capital OTB. Capital OTB. Become a better horse player.
The backstretch workers are the heart and soul of what we do.
They're the backbone of the industry.
People on the racetrack are very giving people.
It's a very oppressive community of people helping one another. We see it all the time.
Any help we need it. It's right there in their hands.
It makes so much easier in the family to have somebody like Nathan to help them.
Looking for a fantastic meal? Stop by Malcolm's, a unique farm-to-table restaurant experience. Located at 617 Union Street in Schenectady, Malcolm's offers locally grown fresh foods, mouth-watering flavors, an enhanced drink menu, and terrific service. Malcolm's is a sure bet during Saratoga season. Make your reservation today.
Welcome back to Racing Across America on Monday morning. And Monday morning of this week in the Saratoga meet means sales night. Monday and Tuesday at 6:30. Block and a half up the street from the racetrack, the FASIC Sales Pavilion. If you haven't been, swing on by. It's a lot of fun. You can go back in the backyard and kind of rub elbows with a lot of the big names in the game, or looking to maybe buy some expensive yearlings and just watch the activity. Again, it's highly recommended. We've already had a couple of people from FASIC tipped in here over the past few days, but kind of looking the other side of the game, Select Sales is one of the consigners over there, and Tom Mulliken comes in from Select Sales. Good morning.
Well, thanks for having me.
Happy to have you. Again, it's a lot of fun. And I'll ask you, I asked the FASIC people, and I said, you like to have the civilians over there, right? It makes a big crowd, and that's a little buzz, and that's got to be fun for you guys as well.
For sure, and I think it's everyone's responsibility in this game is to try and build it and create new fans. And this place is obviously, it's horse racing heaven.
Yeah. Fill us in a little bit. You're a consigner with Select Sales. What does that mean? What's the job of a consigner?
So basically, we represent clients and their horses here at Sale. And I'm a partner in Select Sales. I don't have anything of my own in here, but obviously the other partners, they have some of their own horses that they raised and bred. But our job is to present that horse to potential buyers and show them and put them in the best light.
So you would be like in the real estate game, you would be the people who stage the house. You're the presenters, the people doing the presentation.
Right. We don't have yellow jackets, but that's our job, is to get the horses for the best price sold in a good sale.
And when does that process start? When do you take the horse over and start your grooming and getting the horse?
Actually, it starts months ago, and it really starts when they hit the ground. In terms of, obviously you need some sire power, some pedigree, conformation, big walk, and class, in between the ears, because this is essentially like the NFL draft, the NBA draft. They were earlier this summer, obviously, but this is the big time. I mean, you have this sale in particular, out of the horses offered in yearling sales, this is the highest percentage of Grade 1 winners, graded stakes winners. So when you go over there, I mean, it's the New York Yankees, it's the Boston Red Sox. I mean, these are the big boys.
Talk a little bit about what you do on a day-to-day basis. How long have you guys been in town? How long have the horses been in the barns over there? And as I say, what's the day-to-day process for you guys leading up to the sale?
So I said the horses shipped up on Friday, and we did as well. And basically, that's it's a long ship for a lot of them coming from Kentucky, but essentially, it's almost a beauty contest as well, where you want to slick and shiny and looking good and well behaved and have those long walks. And it's like I said, it's a culmination of years. The breeding, the foaling, the raising, the prepping, the training that they go through, and everything has to hit on all cylinders. And I expect some fireworks tonight and tomorrow night.
I went to your website, the Select Sales website, and you guys have participated in the sale of some pretty nice horses. I'll just list a few of them in here. Tepin, Mind Your Biscuits, Promises Fulfilled, who won the Amsterdam the other day. As I say, kind of a phenomenal group of horses that you guys have taken over to the sales.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, being open and bringing people from here in the grandstand over to the sale, and that's a great thing too. You could be looking at the next American Pharoah, the next Tepin, the next Mind Your Biscuits, and before they really start to blossom. And like you said too, the stars of the game are over there and readily accessible.
As a consignor, do you push the breeding of the horse? In other words, are you talking about the horse? Because I know, having gone over there myself, and people, if they go over tonight, or if you're walking down the street past the sales grounds this afternoon or tomorrow at any time, you'll see the horses come out of the stall. You guys walk them and let them look at the conformation. Are you also talking about what's on the page, or do you just let the buyer kind of bring their knowledge?
If there's an update, like the test winner the other day, she's there's a half sibling across the barn from us. So obviously that's a huge update, which, you don't necessarily need to inform anybody of that, because these are very knowledgeable buyers. But you just basically try and put them in a good light if there's updates or background info of the horse itself that you want to try and make the best sale.
So you're over there. You guys arrived last Friday, and I assume you start showing what day?
We started showing on Saturday.
Okay.
Some of the consigners showed on Friday, and but we just felt it was best to start on Saturday, and it's because basically, these young animals, they can get tired, and you just want them to be able to show the best that they can.
And that continues right up until they come out into the paddock.
Yeah. Yep. So you'll have your last minute inspectors and. Before the lights go on.
And then what happens? I've heard that there's the loudspeaker in the back where they call for the hip number, and so you've got one, and they just called your hip number. What happens on the way to the sales ring?
Well, actually, even before that, which some folks may find of interest, is that the handicapping, in terms of the reserve for the horse, what you think the horse can bring. And that's where we talk to our clients. There's vetting, and we need to scout and figure out who's on the horse, what the budget is, and set a reserve. And ideally, the best case scenario is you get two parties that get hooked up, and one doesn't want to tap out, and then like you said, you hit one out of the park.
I hadn't even thought about that. So during that Saturday to Monday or Tuesday interim where you're showing the horses, you guys, I assume, then are making notes. Oh, this
right.
You're
counting the number of views each horse gets, the inspectors, and then also too in terms of the vetting, which veterinarians certain owners use, and then that's when you start to handicap. Okay, are they on this horse? And then too, you're always kind of looking around the trees and who's in the corners, who's lurking, and then hopefully, you have a bunch show up in the ring at the same time to bid. Yeah, it's the juice on the track is great, but that live auction, when things work out, that's another one of those things. You get that feel. It's remarkable.
Yeah, I've said to people again, it's fun to go over there, and it's certainly a lot of fun when it gets up to that 800, 900, and it's maybe approaching the seven figures, and the whole place gets silent, and it's certainly a lot of fun. Select Sales, what sales do you participate in?
Well, all the major sales. So, obviously we had our first sale was the Fasig July sale. We're here, and then on to Keeneland, OBS, and so it's we're always working. That's the horse business.
So what's the difference for you guys between up here a yearling sale and a 2-year-old sale like OBS?
Actually, we don't do the 2-year-old sales, but OBS has open sales, yearling sales.
Okay.
But that's obviously the 2-year-olds. That's where
they get to work out.
Yeah, that's your NFL combine.
Yeah, it's a whole different animal, so to speak.
Yes.
But over here, it's a lot of fun because we think the gamblers are over here on the front side, but over there with the untested yearlings. But you look at the pages, and let's hit on a couple of pages because, as you say, we're at the cream of the crop here. We have some nice black type, and I want to take a look at a couple of pages for horses that you have consigned. 198 at the sale over the next couple of nights by Liam's Map out of Kelly Got Frosty. A lot of nice black type on the page. But what's interesting here, folks certainly remember Liam's Map, and remember Liam's Map up here at Saratoga. These are his first foals that are showing up.
Yes, and I suspect they're going to be received very well. She's a real stretchy, racy looking filly, and she's kind of mesmerizing to watch her walk. So she'll have she's already had a couple scopes, and so she should be received very, very well.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing what some of the first-year sires are going to do over here over the next couple of nights. One that's been around for a while, but I wanted to show this page, 229. You guys have also consigned that one. Twirling Candy out of Gilded Miracle. But Twirling Candy, of course, Finley's Lucky Charm comes out of that one. Won the Honorable Miss the other day. So Twirling Candy has been around for a while, but as a sire, certainly gets precocious runners, too, as a handicapper.
Yeah, and that's the thing with our consignment. We have our proven sires, the Twirling Candies, the Candy Rides, the Pioneer of the Niles. We have one that was raised by the historic Calumet Farm. We're representing them. She's a very nice filly. But then we also have the Carpe Diems and the Liam's Map. So we have a nice collection of sires, and they're all big boys.
Yeah, and again, it's going to be fun over the next couple of nights to see how things play out. If you look at the top of the page, you can see consigned by Select Sales, and they can root for you guys as a guest on the show. But let's talk about you personally, because as we were coming on, we were talking a little bit. You have your own farm, and you're starting to breed your own horses that maybe you'll be popping into some of these sales.
Yeah, so we have a farm in Paris, Kentucky, Bourbon County, and that's some of the best land in the world to raise a horse. Obviously there's Claiborne, and my partners, Kerry and Craig Brogdon, Mockmer Hall. They bred, foaled, raised Tepin, numerous other ones, graded stakes horses. So now that we're in our infancy, we're only 3 years in, but now we have nine foals on the ground that we will point toward the November weanling sale, and that's something to take a lot of pride in when you see Mulliken Thoroughbreds as the breeder, and hopefully they'll go on and do great things and make us proud.
You talk about that being a great area to race horses. I'll ask you, because I've read this, being somebody who's a handicapper more than a person knowing about the physicality of a thoroughbred. I go over, they all look great to me, but Kentucky, they talk about the grass, the ground and the minerals in the dirt, and the grass is very good for the horses down there.
Yeah, it might be
the bluegrass.
Yeah, it's might be the Chamber of Commerce line, but actually I believe in it. There's something in the soil, your natural resources, and then you just have the great collection of horsemen and women there to assist. So
certainly, Kentucky breds year in and year out are at the top of the game. So we'll look forward for some of yours over at the sales as the year and years progress. But tonight and tomorrow night, we'll again look at the top of the page and see Select Sales as the consigner, and kind of look and root for you guys over the next couple of nights. We wish you a lot of good luck. We appreciate the visit this morning.
And thanks so much for having me. It was my pleasure.
Absolutely. Tom Mulliken from Select Sales, consigning horses over the next couple of nights at Fasig-Tipton. Again, a block and a half down the street. 6:30 it kicks off each night and goes to, 10:30 or 11 or so. So swing on by and enjoy kind of another aspect of the Saratoga scene. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, my friend Jim Ziskin, now a novelist. I've known him virtually his entire life, but has a murder mystery out that is based right here at the racetrack. Just came out recently. I thought we'd hit on that. That's coming up next. Stay tuned.
For 4 generations, Bruce Cerrone and his family have continued the 96-year tradition of delighting their local following and faithful summer crowd with the finest authentic Italian recipes. Classic Italian dishes made with the freshest ingredients and served in a home-like setting, where everyone is welcome. Some things have changed in the last 96 years, but not Pinnell's commitment to the finest in Italian cuisine. Pinnell's Italian Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, just minutes from the track.
Sign up today for Capital OTB's handicapping series and plan your trip to Las Vegas.
Visit Rivers Casino and Resort, the Capital Region's only destination for live table game action and the hottest new slots paying out millions. And they're off. Horse betting is now at Rivers Casino and Resort with Capital off-track betting terminals and live tellers located just off the gaming floor at Van Slyck's. Get in on all the action at Rivers Casino and Resort.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Good morning and welcome to Racing Across America again here as we are live from the Saratoga backstretch. I'm Seth Merrow, and Racing Across America becomes Reading Across America, as it were. Happy to be joined, I mentioned it earlier, I have known Jim Ziskin his entire life, went to school with his brother Ben and the whole Ziskin clan, but now Jim, a novelist, and he has a novel that just came out recently set here at the Saratoga Racecourse. We'll hit on that and much more. Jim, good morning.
Good morning to you, Seth.
Happy to have you on board.
Great
Talk
to be
a little
here.
bit about A Stone's Throw. We'll get to that in a few minutes because it's a fun story, and I've read it. It's certainly highly recommended. As I say, just came out recently. Before we talk the book in particular, though, talk a little bit about yourself and your career. I know you have a website, jamesziskin.com, and looking at that, you've won a number of awards for the writing as well.
Yeah, this is a murder mystery series set in the early 1960s, and it's set in this area, in a fictionalized version of our hometown. And the reason I fictionalized this town was because it's easier, you know, not to be corrected by people if they say, well, you got this one detail wrong. And but the people, you know, back in Amsterdam who read the series appreciate it, I think, even though I've changed the name to New Holland. I call it New Holland, New York. Other than that, it sits in the same spot as Amsterdam, New York. It's about 25 miles from Saratoga Springs, and that's where this one, the sixth novel in the series, it takes place.
And again, it's interesting for me as an Amsterdam person to read it. There's familiar settings, certainly, and clearly some familiar characters tossed in as well, and that was a lot of fun. What was the impetus here in book 6 in the series to do a story based on the Saratoga racetrack?
Well, you know, when you put a mystery series in a small town, you have to be careful not to kill off too many people in that small town. Even if Jessica Fletcher on Murder, She Wrote has made an industry out of that. So I do move my character Ellie Stone. I move her around a bit, but so she's been to Los Angeles, New York, the Adirondacks, as well as New Holland, New York, the fictional town. And then I thought, you know, in this area, what you know would be a good location, and I thought obviously Saratoga, because I remembered it so well from my youth, coming here every August, you know, for the flat track meet. And you know, so as luck would have it, though, 1962, which is the year of this book, August '62. Well, you know, the premier event of the summer was the Travers Stakes, and that year it happened to be just probably, you know, the greatest one of all time, if not the second greatest. But the duel between Raiden and Jaipur. Yeah. So that figures in the book because I couldn't ignore it.
Yeah. And for folks who aren't familiar, it was Jaipur and Raiden, essentially start to finish, all the way around the track.
And a photo finish.
Yeah, I think that there's a YouTube video. It is definitely worth, and I think it's a Freddie Capicella call.
He did, yes, he did. Yeah, it was very exciting.
Yeah. And again, for people who aren't familiar with the series, you've talked about Ellie Stone. She's your main character. Describe her a little bit.
She is a 20-something newspaper reporter in the early 60s. She's kind of bucking, her way through a man's world, trying to make it. She's from New York City originally, but she has landed in this upstate town because a professor of hers knew the editor at the newspaper. So she wants a job that doesn't involve somebody patting her on the behind, and so she wants to be a reporter. That doesn't mean she doesn't run into a lot of, hurdles along the way. I try to make life as difficult as possible for her because that makes it interesting, I think. But she's got a lot of spirit. She's a very funny, witty person. She knows nothing about racing, about horse racing, but she does have a friend who is quite the expert, and he serves as her guide through the track season. For example, her first bet, he encourages her when he takes her to the track. He encourages her to to place a bet to make it fun, and of course she bets on the favorite, and she bets on him to show, and the horse wins and pays, I think, $2.30. So, but with her 25-cent program in 1962, she goes away up a nickel. So that was fun.
And we've all been there to start the career, and the nickel seems pretty good in the first for the first bet.
I'll tell you a story. When I went, the first time I ever went to the track, I was probably 13 or so, and somebody had to bet for me. A friend of mine, Fadge, who there's a character in the book that is based on him. And I remember the horse I decided I wanted to bet on in the first race. It was like 11-1, and then suddenly it was 10-1, and then it's 9-1, and I said, I want to go bet now before the odds go any lower. So that's how much I knew about betting.
We all wish it worked that way.
Exactly.
And you mentioned Fadge, and as I say, there are familiar characters. I knew Fadge very well, and probably one of the guys who helped pull me into the game as well. Unfortunately, passed away much too young.
Yeah.
But characters that are familiar. Locations that are familiar, and one of those, there's a farm that plays into it as well, and kind of reminiscent of Sanford Stud in Amsterdam.
Absolutely. The Sanford Stud Farm was called Hurricana, and it was up on Route 30 in Amsterdam. Now I wanted to, I moved it to Route 67, and I did it because in the series, Ellie has become quite friendly with the Montgomery County Sheriff, and so if you read, mystery stories, if it's an amateur detective like mine who's a newspaper reporter, usually they're at odds with the police somehow. So I didn't want her outshining her friend, so I said, well, let me just move it across the county line. So it actually is right, I set it on Route 67, just where it butts up against the Montgomery County line, and there actually is quite a large swath of land there that I thought this could be 800 acres. With 40, 45 buildings on it. So the book opens with a fire in the middle of the night on this abandoned stud farm, which I called Tempesta, because you have to change the names. But it was obviously based on the Sanford farm, and it's a foaling barn that burns down in the night. No horses are harmed in this fire because the place is abandoned. But Ellie is there, and once the fire is put out, she kind of snoops around and discovers a kind of a length of racing silk in the rubble that didn't quite burn, and she pulls on it, and a timber rolls over, and it's tied around the neck of a dead body, burned beyond recognition. There are two bodies in the fire. So then the whole idea becomes, well, who are these people? Ellie has an idea, since one of them is a woman, and the other one they initially think is an adolescent male, but Ellie says, is there any chance it could be a jockey, because it's a short person? And lo and behold, the next day at the races, she sees the same pattern on a horse or on a jockey in the paddock, and this leads her to discover that one of their jockeys for the stable that in question has been scratched from every race that day. So that gives her the first clue as to who this dead body might be. She also meets a horse that she has kind of a connection with. And by the way, the fictional horses were almost as fun as probably the real horses, like the names. But this one it's a horse that I named Purgatorio. It's a horse that doesn't like to race. It's a horse who can run, but he just doesn't like to race, and he doesn't like other horses. But Ellie forms a bond with him and starts to worry what happens to this horse if he doesn't win. How patient will the owner be? And she talks to the owner quite a bit. But that's just one of the subplots in the book.
And again, it's a fun book, and you tried to keep the racing as legitimate as possible. Again, Jaipur and Raidan, but also I know you and I had a lunch right after the race meet last year, and I made the acknowledgements to the book, and I appreciate
the very
that.
first name in the
We talked about some of the factors. So it's a fun book that I think people will enjoy if they're into the racing game or if they're into these kind of murder mystery stories. There's a photo of the cover, and I want to toss out, available obviously at all the online booksellers, Amazon.com and whatnot, but I certainly want to toss out the Tomorrow Night at 6 o'clock, and there are some of the other books in the series. Tomorrow night at 6 o'clock, Northshire Bookstore right here in Saratoga. You'll have a little get-together down there.
Yeah, I'm signing with another author named Sasser Hill, who has a book that also takes place in Saratoga. Hers came out just a couple of months ago, and she writes a couple of wonderful series that revolve around horse racing. So yeah, I encourage you to come out. It'll be a lot of fun.
Dark day at the racetrack, so you have all day
to
do some other things. Again, 6 o'clock right downtown. Highly recommended to swing by, and I'm sure the book's for sale, and you'll be signing some.
I'll be signing, sure.
And certainly that'll be a lot of fun. Want to touch on, again, this is number what in the series? 6?
Number 6.
Well, what was the impetus for coming up with a character like Ellie Stone?
Well, when I started the series, you want to have an interesting character. I wanted it to be a believable character. So she's not one of these women detectives who beat up men or carries a gun. She doesn't do anything like that. She's kind of small. But the reason I picked, I liked the era, and I wanted to set the books in that era. And then I thought, what would make it even harder for my detective? And it just came to me. I said, well, what if she were a woman? It would be harder. It's because everyone discounts her. Everyone.
And again, it's set in the early 60s.
It's set in the early 60s. Yeah. Now she comes from New York City, but she's now living in this upstate mill town of New Holland, based on Amsterdam, as we mentioned. And so that was really the impetus. I wanted to have a character that had all of the challenges of solving a crime, but also had the added burden of being a woman in a man's world.
Take us through the process. We'll focus on this latest book. As I say, you and I met last September, and you were already underway. What is the process of writing a book? How long does it take? What's day one like? You put together just a little draft, or how do you work?
Yeah, I start with usually with a setting. And so in this case, the idea of horse racing was very, and Saratoga, that was very attractive. Then I tried to put together, a simple outline. I don't write, a detailed outline, but it's probably 5 pages of just what happens in the book. This happens, and this, and this, and this. I'll make changes along the way. I mean, you have better ideas as you go along. But and then once I've done, then I do research. And in this case, I was in Saratoga last summer or last September doing the research, and so there were trips to the Racing Museum, to the museum in Albany, meeting with you, talking with some other friends from home who are who like to play the horses as well.
Amsterdam's well known for that.
Yeah, and also basing a lot on my my own memories. And I am the world's worst gambler and handicapper, but I'll give you a little tip, Seth. This might come in handy for you. No,
I can always use it.
Yeah, it's really easy to handicap after the fact. At least it's a lot easier. So if I know which horses won, obviously I can do some of that. Like for example, the Travers that year. Talking about, Fadge, the character in the book, he talks to Ellie quite a bit about the 2 horses and what his strategy would be, and then of course he says, but he decided not to bet on it because he couldn't see how to win. He was lying to her, of course. He did bet, and they exchanged a $2 bet, and Ellie wins, so she wins her only 2 bets, and Fadge loses the $2 and a hell of a lot more on that race and on other races. But he also has some good days too, where he wins some big packets.
And again, this is book number 6. We saw some of the other books in the series, and as I say, looking at your website, jamesziskin.com, the series has won a couple of awards too.
Yeah, last year, Heart of Stone, which was the 4th book, Won the Anthony Award, which is one of the great prestigious awards in the mystery writing field, crime writing field, for Best Paperback Original. It also won the Macavity Award for the Best Historical Mystery of the Year. It's, by the way, the 5th book, Cast the First Stone, which came out last year, is also up for those same 2 awards. I'll find out in September.
Yeah, nice.
That would be nice.
We're rooting for you.
Yeah, thank you.
And I also pulled up your Twitter feed last night and saw Friday night you had a little. The hometown hero comes home and talks to the folks in the Amsterdam Library. How was that? That was great. It was a great crowd. A lot of people that I hadn't seen in a long time. Spirited discussion, questions. It was a lot of fun, and they've been very, very supportive too. The hometown, I must say. I go back every year. I do signings in Amsterdam, Schenectady, Saratoga. So, also have to ask you just a little off the writing side of things, because again, going to your website and looking at your bio, kind of interesting. You spent time in France, Italy. You are by training a linguist. You spent some time in India. Your wife is from India. But interesting to me, as a film school graduate, spent a lot of time out at Hollywood doing subtitles and visual effects. Talk a little bit about your time out in Hollywood.
Yeah, well, I studied languages, and I'm sure my father thought I would never find a job, with that skill. But lo and behold, I ended up in the subtitling business first, and worked for a company. We subtitled movies, TV shows for DVD, for Blu-ray, for online. Everything you can imagine coming out of Hollywood in as many as up to 50 languages.
So are you subtitling English into foreign languages, or coming back the other way?
We did both, but most of it was English into other languages because there's a great market for that all around the world. And so, yeah, we did everything from, Jackass to Citizen Kane. I mean,
that is a wide variety.
And you know what? And we charged the same. So it didn't. So then also I worked in visual effects for a couple of years, doing setting up a studio abroad to do 2D to 3D conversion.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, and that's still going strong. So
very good. Yeah. So more that people can talk about with you tomorrow night at North Shire, but certainly highly recommended to stop on down. It came out in June, right?
June 5th.
So still very brand new, hot off the presses, a stone's throw. Number 6 in the Ellie Stone series, and again, a lot of fun with set in a fictional Amsterdam, and a lot of the action takes place right up here at the racetrack as well. Jim, appreciate the visit, and good luck with the book, and tomorrow night at North Shire.
Thank you.
Jim Ziskin, and again, tomorrow night, North Shire, 6 o'clock, that's right on Broadway, 424 Broadway. Swing on by, pick up a book, and have some nice reading material for a couple of weeks this summer. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, Rick Schosberg will join us. Trainer, board member of the New York Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association. All of that right after this. Stay tuned.
Racing from Woodbine and Mohawk Park. Thoroughbred and harness action. The wagers are just the beginning. Watch award-winning broadcasts covering both breeds, incredible battles contested over the most unique grass course in North America. Experience the full fields with over 130 thoroughbred and 160 live harness days. Get access to free handicapping material and join the ranks of Woodbine and Mohawk Park players from all over the globe. For more information, visit woodbine.com.
Come on.
I want sales reports on my desk by Monday.
Whoops. My bad.
Love racing? RTN brings you every live simulcast on your home television, plus live video streaming and race replays on your PC and mobile devices. To order, visit rtn.tv. RTN, a breed apart.
The backstretch workers are the heart and soul of what we do.
They're the backbone of the industry.
People on the racetrack are very giving people.
It's a very oppressive community of people helping one another. We see it all the time.
Any help we need it. It's right there in their hands.
It makes so much easier in the family to have somebody like Nathan to help them.
A day at the track isn't complete without a night at the Horseshoe. Great food, hot music, and cold drinks. So why go downtown when all the action's just across from the track? The Horseshoe Inn at the corner of Nelson and Gridley.
Welcome back to Racing Across America. Always happy to be joined by our buddy Rick Schosberg. Rick, good morning.
Seth, how are you? It's great to be here.
Very good. Happy to have you in. We'll hit on, we just mentioned as we were coming on the air, have a horse in tomorrow. Scratched today as an MTO, but entered back tomorrow. We'll hit on that. We'll get also some New York Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association info in, as you're one of the board members, and we'll talk about that. But we've had you on before, and I'm sure we've talked about background and whatnot in the previous visits, but I was doing a little bio research yesterday, and I pulled up some of the names you started your career with, and their names people up here at Saratoga will certainly be familiar with. Talk a little bit about the early career. Eddie Gaudet, who unfortunately passed away earlier this year, the dad to Lacey and Gabby, Walter Kelly, Sid Waters, Tom Skiffington. Talk about what you took away from some of those experiences.
Well, I worked with Eddie and Linda in 1978 at Delaware Park, and I learned a lot from them, a lot about racing and a lot about other things too. But I stayed very close with both of them. Unfortunately, Eddie, who had a wonderfully long life and with a more than colorful character in the Mid-Atlantic and raced up here quite a bit too. But what a great family. And to see Lacey and Gabby, who I knew the days they were born, to be so successful in their each individual endeavors is amazing. I worked for Walter Kelly during my college years at Cornell, and then when I graduated, I went right back into being a groom with an Ivy League degree and a pitchfork. And I actually rubbed Ziggy's boy, who was a rapid sprinter from the mid-'80s. And when I was down at Hialeah with Mr. Kelly, I got a call from Sid Waters, who my family had connections with through Bill McMillan, who was one of his owners. Called me and he said, you know, Rick, I've just picked up a fairly big account for Bert Firestone, and I'm going to double in size, and I'm going to have 2 barns. Do you think you're ready to run a shed row? And I certainly did. And I worked for Mr. Waters, which was an honor. Terrific horseman from Maryland, trained Hoist the Flag. And we had the Firestone horses for a year until Billy Mott took them. But we made it to the Breeders' Cup with a filly named Musical Lark for Mr. Firestone, and she was a graded stake winner, and we had a really good year. And when the Firestone horses went to Billy, I tried to go with them. His staff was set up, and he didn't know me from anybody. And I kind of floated around a little bit, and ended up, Tom Skiffington needed an assistant, and I worked for Tommy as an assistant for a good 3 years and had wonderful experience under a great horseman with some really top-notch horses. We had several Grade 1 horses. We finished 1, 2, 3 in the Pan Am in 1 year, which was amazing. And after about 3 years, my wife and I were, you know, at that point we were dating and about to get married, and decided to go ahead and start our own little stable, and bought a horse named Three Chopped Road in '88, and he was the first one. Jerry Bailey rode him, and he won, and that was the beginning of it.
Yeah, it's certainly
just made connections throughout the '80s and '90s, and some good connections too with Heatherwood Farm and Mr. Freed, and ended up with horses like A Firm Success and Moss Flower and Maria's Mon and As Indicated and several others. It was, you know, those were good years.
Yeah,
a little tougher now.
Had
a little tougher now.
Cornell grad, and then went on to get the education from some of the more familiar names in the game.
Practical education, is equally as effective.
It certainly pays off.
Yeah.
Now, again, board member on the New York Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association board. We've talked with some of the other board members over the past couple of weeks about the good work that they do. We'll talk a little bit about aftercare for horses, but before we do that, I think we have a shot from one of the young guys getting a diploma as part of the education programs for backstretch employees' kids, and I'll just let you talk a little bit about NYTHA and playing into the betterment of the lives for the backstretch workers who really are the backbone of the industry.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, we advocate, NYTHA advocates for the backstretch workers, the horses, and we represent the interests of all horsemen, owners, and trainers in that race in the state of New York. But our backstretch program through BEST and the chaplaincy is just second to none. With the Anna House and we work with the kids on education, and as they get older, English as a second language, computer science programs, and all the way up through our NYTHA scholarship program, of which we've given out over $250,000 worth of scholarships over the year. Each year, and we've had several of our backstretch workers, their families and their kids have gone on to college. We have veterinarians now. We have a pilot for I believe it's US or United that went through our program. She wanted to be an aviator, and she's a full documented pilot for commercial airways. And a lot of them, go through school and again do vet work, vet tech work, or go on to their own education degrees and stuff like that. NYTHA really puts together wonderful programs through their funding and through their budget, and for the backstretch workers and also for the horses.
And let's talk about that for the horses. I think we have the logo, the Take Two program, but also you have the Take the Lead program.
We got the Take the Lead hats right here. You can take one for $9.50 or so.
But it all goes to a good cause.
It's a charitable deduction, and it's all 501c3.
Talk a little bit about, though, these programs, Take Two and Take the Lead, which again play into an issue that has really come to the forefront over the past 5 or maybe 10 years in the horse racing game, and the New York Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association has played into it as well, the aftercare.
Absolutely, and first of all, aftercare is an industry-wide initiative, and it's an industry-wide responsibility. And before I talk about our local programs, I want to explain what the National Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance really is. Thoroughbred Aftercare Alliance has two missions, and one is funding to provide what I would consider a pension plan or a retirement plan, monetary retirement plan for thoroughbred racehorses across the country. Their second mission is accreditation of organizations and facilities across the country that will participate under their guise and under their oversight. To get accredited is very difficult. It's a yearly process. Not only do you get site inspections and surprise site inspections, you also have a fiscal audit process that would, from what they tell us, makes the IRS look like a piece of cake. But to attain your accreditation puts you into the funding to retain your accreditation on a yearly basis is equally as tough. And these people do all the grunt work at these facilities, whether it's rehabilitation, retraining, or rehoming for second careers. Our program, it's called Take Two, Take the Lead. The Take the Lead part of our program is our initiative here on the racetrack, and that's where we expedite the process of helping the horsemen get horses that are no longer going to be racing, either through injury, age-related, lack of talent, or financial situations. We expedite the process of getting these horses to these aftercare facilities that are accredited with the TAA in the region or in the in Kentucky or Pennsylvania. We have facilities here in New York that are accredited. There's Rerun down here in East Greenbush, Lisa Malloy. We have a rehabilitation facility and a retraining facility for new vocations, which is Anna Ford's program, which is nationwide. We have Aikendale Rescue, which is a little bit downstate from here. All these programs are accredited, and they partner with us to get these horses into their rehabilitation, retraining, and rehoming facilities. That's the Take the Lead program. We provide all the paperwork, vet reports, and we do a vet exam, a comprehensive veterinarian soundness exam on the horse. We collect all ultrasounds, all x-rays, and make sure that the facilities that have availability for the horse have all the information they need before the horse gets off the van. So they know exactly what part of their program they should go to. We also provide, we establish vanning, transportation, and we cover the costs of transportation. So basically for me, it's an email, it's a text, or it's a phone call, or my partner Andy Belfiore, who's our executive director, an email, a text, or a phone call. We'll be on site within that day. We'll get an analysis of the horse. We'll send pictures, videos, and whatever veterinarian records, whether it's a post-operative record from Cornell or Patty Hogan. Everything gets transferred to the aftercare facility before the horse gets there, so they know exactly where to go with the horse. And we basically take care of the whole program for them. And that's for all the NYRA tracks, whether it be Saratoga, Aqueduct, or Belmont. And if we have to travel around, we have to travel around. But that's what our program's for, and we've successfully handled 400 horses off of the NYRA tracks. And there's more. We always have 3 or 4 in the process of moving from the track to the aftercare facilities. Several of them have already been rehabbed and retrained and are in show rings, or the RRP, which is the Retired Racehorse Project, or we've had polo ponies, police horses, barrel racers, wherever they fit in, or just pleasure horses for people. Now the second part of our program, which is actually the all-encompassing company, if you will, is Take Two. The Take Two program is a thoroughbreds-only show circuit, of which we are a part, and it's nationwide. We are a part of over 350 different show circuits across the country where the Take Two classes are held. And we provide, you register for it, and people apply for it, their horses, their riders, and there's a significant amount of prize money. There's a point system. We have a year-end award for different categories, of whether it's hunter jumper, green hunter, or whether it's just a lead line class or something like that. We provide basically all the funding and sponsorship for that, and the show circuits have been wonderful. But it's just thoroughbreds, and the idea is to move the take the lead horses through the rehabilitation, retraining, and show up in these Take Two classes across the country, and that comes full circle. The thing that people got to realize is that with aftercare is that a horse's racing career could be a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years if you're lucky. Their lifespan is in the low to mid-20s, high teens. These horses need and love to have jobs. They don't want to be just turned out in a field, unless, of course, they have physical disabilities that would require a sanctuary situation. But we really try to get them into a job situation because, they have several years left to do things, and they love to do things.
So if an owner or a trainer has a horse like that who the career has not panned out, or whatever the reason, they're going to transition off the race course, it's recommended to get in touch with you guys at NYTHA.
No doubt about it, yeah. If you get a hold of me, you can go to NYTHA, our website. You can go to takethelead@nytha.com. We're in the condition book. We have a whole page in the condition book with my contact information, Andy's contact information. Just go to NYTHA with all our contact informations. Or if you know a board member and it's not me, they know how to get a hold of me. And matter of fact, I just came from Oklahoma getting paperwork done over there on a horse that is in a similar situation, and we probably will get the horse moved off the grounds within a week, which saves the owner a lot of time and money, and it saves the trainer from the onus of trying to find a good home. We guarantee that these horses will never end up back on the racetrack and never end up back or end up in a bad situation. We promise safe haven, and that's through the TAA's own bylaws, and that's why we work with the facilities that are accredited, because they guarantee that if a horse ends up in a situation like that, they automatically take them back, and there's a lot of checks and balances along the way.
Take the Lead and Take Two, part of the NYTHA programs, and again, as I say, the past 5-10 years, this has become something that has come to the forefront in the thoroughbred industry, so it's great to know you guys are actively participating in such a manner. I want to mention one of the horses that has a nice retirement as well, one of your old horses. You mentioned this one earlier. Affirmed Success. I mention it because certainly a lot of people in our audience are going to remember this horse. Go back to 1999, won the Cigar Mile, won the Forgo up here at Saratoga in 1998, won the Carter in 2002 with a nice career, the Poker. Man, what a nice runner for you, Affirmed Success, and now he's down to Old Friends.
Amazing, and be it for me to mention Aftercare without mentioning Michael Blowen and Old Friends. A fantastic operation for horses that basically they're sanctuary horses, but they're horses that, you know, people knew, you know, whether it be Silver Charm or Zippy Chippy. But Affirmed
Zippy Chippy's right up the road here.
Zippy Chippy's right here, right here at Cabin Creek in their division up here. Affirmed Success was an extraordinary athlete. And if you look at his past performances, he ran 42 times, and 38 of the 42 times he had triple figure buyer figures.
Is that
which
right?
Is,
wow.
Yes, absolutely. And the couple that weren't, he had one bad race in the Breeders'. He ran in the Breeders' Cup 4 times. He never won, but he ran in 2 sprints and 2 miles. He was a multiple Grade 1 stake winner. He was a Grade 1 winner at 3, and he was a Grade 1 winner at 8. And he was a Grade 3 winner at 9. And he won the Carter at 8, and he was 3rd in the Carter, I believe, and he won the toboggan, the prep for the Carter. He won on the turf, he won on the dirt, he won at a mile, he won at 6 furlongs, he won the Vosburg, he won the Forgo up here. An amazing animal. He's 23 years old now, and Michael keeps telling me they need to write a handicap for 20-year-olds and up at 5/8 of a mile, and there's no doubt about who's going to win that one. He looks terrific. He really does. I get photos of him all the time. He's in their magazine. He's in their book. And he's a fan favorite. He's not... Yeah, he's a very, very accomplished racehorse that never really got on the national scene because he didn't quite win a Breeders' Cup, but he was a real fan favorite.
Well, as I say, the folks in our audience are all familiar with him.
He's a terrific, terrific, cool horse.
Rick, before we let you go, just want to mention again, Sandy Bell in tomorrow. She was entered today in a turf race. Wednesday. Wednesday.
Yeah,
no racing tomorrow. If you come tomorrow, you're going to, the betting will be slim. But again, entered MTO today, but entered back on Wednesday in a scheduled dirt race. 6th race on Wednesday. I pulled up a replay going back to the end of the meet last year. This was an off-the-turf event. Sandy Bell's the number 14 in here and gets it done as the 9-5 favorite. You think she's going to appreciate the return to Saratoga?
Well, let's put it this way. We were literally saved by the bell last year because this was the last race on the last day, and we were quacking up until then. And the race came off the turf, and she had been running on the turf. And this race really put her, really opened her eyes. She had run well on the grass. She was second here in a maiden race, and she was second at Belmont. And when this race came off the turf, we said, okay, it's our last shot. Jose, just go ahead and drop her head and let her run. And she actually won 3 more on the dirt after that. So that really got her going for the fall and the winter. It's a little tougher race. Todd's got a filly in there that's 2 out of 3 and a good second. It's a good solid bunch of New York breds. I think the betting will be anywhere from 2-1 to 8-1 throughout. There's speed in there. It's a 6-horse field, but it's contentious. I think she likes the track.
Yeah, she doesn't the track.
I wouldn't have minded being in this race off the turf today at 5.5, but Yeah,
it always rains when you don't want it to, and then when you want it to.
Yeah, well, we had so much the other day. I thought, you know what, maybe there's a shot that they're going to split the races up today too, but obviously not. So we'll run on Wednesday and we'll take a shot, but I think it's a wide open race.
All right, we'll be rooting for you. Sandy Bell coming up on Wednesday. Rick, appreciate the visit again. Folks can visit the website for the New York Thoroughbred Horsemen's Association for more information on the Take Two and the Take the Lead programs, and good luck going forward.
Seth, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Rick Schosberg, a little before that, Jim Ziskin. Again, swing on down to Northshire Bookstore tomorrow at 6 o'clock. A stone's throw, his murder mystery set. Much of it up here at the racetrack. A lot of fun. Tom Mullican from Select Sales. They'll have some horses tonight and tomorrow down the street at Fasig-Tipton, and we kick things off with Andy Serling giving some ideas on the card this afternoon. All right, we're running late. I'm going to jump out, but we'll be back on Wednesday with the Handicappers Report at 9 a.m., Racing Across America at 10. Enjoy the races this afternoon. Don't forget low roller contest today over on the front side, and the umbrella giveaway, free with paid admission while supplies last. We'll see you Wednesday morning.
You've been watching Racing Across America with Seth Merrow. Racing Across America has been brought to you by CapitalOTBBet.com, the premier online wagering site in New York State. CapitalOTBBet.com. Sign up today. Pinnell's Restaurant, a Saratoga tradition since 1922. 284 Jefferson Street, Saratoga, just minutes from the track. Thoroughfan, giving the fan a voice. Find them at thoroughfan.com. Woodbine Racetrack. Pick, bet, and cheer on world-class horse racing north of the border. And the new Capital OTB mobile app. Wager anytime, anywhere. Download it free from the iTunes Store or Google Play.